What is up, everyone? This is Sarah G. It is GenZ-Gab. Let's get into it. I am gonna do the usual Monday mood, but with a little bit of holidays cheer because I have been very much not getting into the spirit too much this year. I should be listening to all the different, carols and songs, etc., but right now, as I am continuing to do this podcast and other projects, it's just becoming where I'm dropping the ball on a lot of things. I should be also studying a monologue that I should be recording, self taping, but things happen. And again, ADHD and OCD are not great things with multitasking because the OCD makes you want to do everything that you have on your list and all remembrance and whatnot. And the ADHD goes, ooh, pretty colors. So, yeah, aside from that, let's just go into I have been looking at some small businesses to support this holiday season. The one that I'm going to talk about most is the one that I actually bought from for my mom because backstory, there is, a hurricane that went on this year, more so, and I've mentioned it a few times. I've mentioned it how I have checked out and checked in on some of my Florida Keys, Keys Largo, you name it, Sanibel. Well, I'm only mentioning Sanibel. I don't really know if they listen over there, but Sanibel has had a special place in my heart. My parents honeymoon there, but they had a hurricane after that honeymoon, so then things got redone, and then I started going there a few times with my mom, and my parents just still have great memories from there, obviously, and that whole area, Fort Myers. And, there's little kiosks, shops, you name it, that I try to buy from when we're there, or that other people have bought things from back past, present, and future. And it's just very sad or bittersweet in a lot of ways. But anyhow, I started to do some research on different small owned businesses where I could find some things. And yes, money is a little tight, but it's also just the thought that counts. So I was just looking for, small owned businesses where I could find some things. And yes, money is a little tight, but it's also just the thought that counts. So I was just looking for, a business to support, obviously, and just something that would work with, like I talked about with Laura last week, just that, I don't make a lot. Gen Z, some people do, some people don't. And we talked about that whole influencer stuff. But it just goes to show, though, that you should be, in general, supporting smaller businesses. But the fact of the matter is, that it also usually not only supports them, but it's not listed as that high of a price. I mean, yes, you have to maybe pay more for delivery, but all in all, it still comes out. And even if you do wind up having to pay a little more, which again, not neither here nor there, you're supporting a smaller business that should be getting rave reviews. But anyhow, Suzka Design. I follow someone from Grey's Anatomy that I've mentioned multiple times, but I just don't feel like mentioning all of those people right now because this is separately. But the irony of, all the things that I follow, and sometimes you never know what you're going to come across. And obviously, I love when people support small businesses or, big causes, all that. Yes, like I've mentioned before, but you should really give it a good look. They have so many varieties of things and just all handmade, very precious and timeless. So check them out. I will put the link in the bio. Also, just so everyone knows, there was a picture if you wind up oddly seeing it. My cat decides to eat the envelope and she thinks that that's a better bonus gift than, anything else. And I laugh at that because sometimes, it's just funny what people, animals, things find as bonus. So, anyway, as I move on from that, I'm going to touch a little bit on just the holiday season, spirits, all that, as well as my sleep deprivation with being a private contractor for my own podcast, which is also good. I love it. I love putting my effort into this. This is not me complaining. This is me just saying how funny it is that, I didn't do anything really like out there in college and I didn't stay out late. I didn't do any of that stuff. And yet for some odd reason, I have been up till between 2 and 3 a.m. most nights when it comes to editing this podcast because I want to give you the best. And I don't have the big production people to help out. And that is totally fine because also I realize that as more time goes on, if I have people, doing it more the clickbaity way, I don't think I'd like that. And that's fine. But it's just showing that this requires a lot of work. And for anyone who's ever done this process, I applaud you. I am with you, even if you don't have any idea who I am. So that being said, yes. And then my whole sleep schedule is always, like I said, messed up just in the winter in general. But yeah, my sleep schedule gets even more messed up with the whole thing that is the editing. And last week, I keep having, the longer the podcast I learn, the harder it is to do all the video. And it's nothing against, I had a blast doing this. And I'm telling people though, just for the future, if you have like a long interview, if it's gonna happen that technical difficulties happen. It just is. And the only reason I'm touching on this so much right at this moment is because we've got to acknowledge that not everything is going to go smoothly, especially when you're working on your own. And the only reason that I'm saying this is it kind of piggybacks off of what I said last week or what Laura said last week and just the trials and tribulations that go on with this line of work. And you know what? I had to take a lot of her advice, not letting things get to me so much when my computer crapped out every 10 seconds and that people will just like to troll on you for no reason. As hard as life is sometimes with those aspects, you at least acknowledge where you're going for the next point and not everything is linear, which is good. And I also have been just, trying to find out more of where my next step is. I have come up with some more ideas for my TikToks. I hope that, there is more opportunities for me coming up with that I have some more space time. I'm going to actually be doing some self-care, which means this is the third episode of season 2. Okay, but season 2, and I'm gonna do one more right before I leave for a vacation, and then I won't be back till the new year. And I know me announcing this again, like I did the week before, is kind of, oh, she's doing that. Here's the thing, we all need some downtime, and I cannot give you what I want for production, for content, etc. And I've been really slacking off on my TikToks these days, which is fine. It doesn't matter, but I want to get back to doing some of the stuff and just kind of, catching up a little bit on other things. But this is not like, again, I'll be back probably the first week of January, so it's not going to be a long break. It's going to be a standard 2 weeks. Most people are going to be on vacation celebrating holidays, so it doesn't really, I understand if somebody is like actually like a very deliberate religious listener on this, follows this really well, and I thank you all for that. But between traveling and monologues and just sanity of the holidays, it's just better that I take a small break. And I know I'm sounding very redundant in the same old thing, but that's just life. And as you can see, I'm probably not as tired looking, but again, I came across a statement I said in work this last week, which is true. And just FYI, everyone or anyone can wear makeup. That's not what I was trying to say. But what I said, and I said this kind of as well, but that one perk about being like a girl or just a person in society is when you feel like death, you can wear makeup and try to hide how you feel. But again, that goes to show how curated social media is and how curated celebrities can be. And I just want to touch on this because during the holiday seasons, we get into that mindset of new year, new me, yay, 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 diet culture, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to touch on that for a second because Bella Hadid has come under fire yet again. And here's the thing, I'm starting to not like models so much. I actually don't think I've really liked models too much. I probably was like in the mix of like the Kendall Jenner and Bella and Gigi when I was in high school, and people have those things like, this is what it says about you if you were a fan of these models. And I'm just gonna say one thing. They didn't give off that typical like, I'm too cool for school, I'm too cool for you vibes or whatever. I mean, it's not that I didn't inherently like Kendall used to give off that more I'm so whatever or like nicer vibes, but the more that's come out, you know, whatever, and just cultural appropriation, it's not it anymore. I wouldn't say like I loved her, but like I liked her better than the rest of her family, which I guess is just another thing. And again, the overanalyzation that goes along with all these topics and how we interact. But I just wanted to say this for social media. Also, what I've noticed when I do my own CapCut videos, sometimes I just like to play around with different filters, etc. The funny thing is that when you do like the touch-up stuff, I just wanted to play around the other day, it literally turns you into that baby on TikTok. So to me, I'm just like, okay, whatever, this is weird. And I don't try to do too much, but it was just like, sometimes, every once in a while, it's like making a chipmunk voice. Okay, let's put the baby face filter on me. Except for in CapCut, it isn't the baby face filter. It's like the smooth lines and wrinkles. No one can see this. Hey, watch it. Because I know that I probably have more fine lines, wrinkle, whatever. And that went into the ageism that me and Laura talked about last week as well. And you know that it just is what it is at the end of the day. But the problem is that, you know what, I'd rather ice my face and do the sauna and, you know, deal with all my my mental health and all my, you know, autoimmune issues than, you know, put more stuff in my body. And here's the thing. Yes, I'm all for medicines, all that stuff, but it's just like voluntarily going in for Botox, minus the fact that yes, Botox though can help, and I'm not gonna argue with people who really need it medically necessary, whether that's a Sanfilippo kid, whether that's a cerebral palsy, all those kind of things, Parkinson's, you know, I'm not against it, and I'm not trying to judge people who use it. And again, I just want people to be honest that use it, especially for cosmetic reasons. And it's just the way that I look at things. But I just meant that I don't know how nobody knows how your body's gonna react to everything. And I just think people are so, especially women, so quick to go under the knives. And, you know, we are sizist, sexist, all that stuff, ageist. And it just really made me think, because especially with you know, I'm not trying to create shade around like Bella Hadid. I'm just trying to acknowledge that, you know, with all the contouring and body, you know, morphine she can do, etc. It's clearly like people go, and I fell into this trap probably thinking that she eats more than she does, and I'm concerned about her as well. And people still want to look like her, and the comments get freaky where it's to the point where I just want to give her a hug. And she's a year older than me, but you know, just all this stuff, like I have dysmorphia in and of itself with just all the things I see online. I could never imagine having a mom like her. And before anybody attacks me, we all know what Yolanda does, okay? Like, let's stop, all right? And we're all thinking the same thing when we see her and Sheik coming back. It's not like we didn't watch the Victoria's Secret stuff, etc. And even like, it's just getting so out of hand, and trying to stop comparing yourself is another thing. And I think that I started to have more of this mindset when you see that, you know what, so many other people have had the same problems, but actually it's the societal, obviously, like you say, normalization. But the fact of the matter is that it's also like these grandparents or these parents that are tiny thinking that, oh, they want taller kids, so then they go out and marry the tall basketball guy, but then that winds up them having tall girls with wide rib cages, and they don't realize what they're saying to other people. And I'm just talking like this because, again, the skewed way of thinking thinking that like Lisa Rinna and Yolanda Hadid have towards everything is just beyond me. And, I know what I'm planning to do for where I'm at. And yes, I mentioned last week a number of names that are probably on the better end and trying to change the game. But we all know that that's hard too. And just that no matter what you say, or how much you eat, how much you don't, how much you sleep, how much you don't. Everything's under a microscope, and everyone's trying to change this, and no matter how hard you work, it doesn't seem to get anywhere. And I think that feeling hits me in a constant rotation because I also live in a tundra area where it's just colder, Midwest love. But I think that if we don't acknowledge, again, me saying all this stuff, but some of the problems that come along with other things, etc. Like the same with nepotism. And I kind of know that I went on like a whole rant or kind of side note thing and not really getting anywhere, but I think everyone knows where my point stands. Is just that how much is curated and how much you need to understand you don't. And again, it's your body, your choices. Can we talk about just all the things that TikTok has started to make me wonder about Ehlers-Danlos? I'm got, again, Hashimoto's chronic illness. I've probably mentioned this stuff a few times, but the amount of things that I've been seeing on Ehlers-Danlos, like I can do this with my hand for anyone watching the video version of this podcast, which I know is a lot less, but I can do this, and you can follow along with more of the weird things that I can do from TikTok and on my personal account. I just want to keep that in mind. I think that people don't realize, though, that there's like that ADHD hypermobility and then just the zebra and questioning things, but the amount of times that I hear something is rare, that's what really bothers me. And then if you want to talk about, though, like people who have had like the misdiagnosis, it's literally anyone. And somebody also said to me like that, my Ehlers-Danlos made more autoimmune things happen. Here's the thing, someone also said that it has to do with like Lyme disease, and I've been tested. I had every like panel for Lyme, so I haven't had any of that, so I know that. But everything's so hard to actually diagnose, and then it's like, but also, what are we doing? But it's not as rare, and I don't think it's as uncommon, at least for the super hyper mobile type, because I think that it's a milder case that it's got to do. Now, I don't know, because again, people are like, stretchy skin. I don't have a lot of stretchy skin. So again, it's like some people have it around their eyes, like more so than I do. But again, it's not like the medical shows, again, Scrubs, ER, Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Med, where they show the person's arm literally dropping out of its socket, or the person having super blurry vision. And again, for me, I don't have blurry vision, I don't think. And again, it's hard for me to say what is and what isn't, because I already am blind in my left eye and farsighted in my right. So yeah, I have amblyopia, if I've talked about that before. And what that is that that my left eye shut off. I have astigmatism. There's just a lot of things, and people are like, could be like, what the hell is wrong with Sarah? Nothing. I'm practically perfect in my own imperfect way. And I know that that's a tacky quote that I've said, or that other people said, but it's true. And if you don't embrace it, then it's just not going to go very far for you. And that just, yeah. But anyway, if other people haven't seen the whole, like, where you can do the prayer grip behind your hands, all that stuff, I can sort of do the split. It's weird. But again, I don't have like the super stretchy, translucent veins, skin, whatever. But even when I was starting to do some of these tests to see like if any other family members have it, they just do the Spock thing. I can't do the Spock thing with their and all those things. But then they're just like, it's so normal. And I'm starting to wonder what is actually normal, which I know has been just the typical question of life, like what is actually normal. But the more that, again, like I mentioned before on the whole TikTok and the models and the curation, it really starts to make your brain go, what side of the For You page am I on? And sometimes you really want to hit not interested because you're not interested in it, it's just a random thing. But the amount of things that I've gotten about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome coming up on my For You page is really making me question everything. And someone that I know said to me I might, because she was noticing some of the things that I could do. Also, the fact that I can point my arm really far and whatever. And I don't know if this is also something just to do with, but a separate thing is I'm almost 5'9", and I've said this a few times, but I don't know if it's the height thing that goes along with it. But yes, you can see right now, like, what I'm doing, like I said, with my fingers. Yeah, and I can touch both sides and do this with both. So yeah, just FYI, I can do the weird thing with my arm too, where it like overextends, but I'm not gonna. But then some other people can do really even stranger stuff or grosser stuff or whatever, and that's just not me. I can also lift my leg up and put it into like that very like hyper extension. I don't want to get into too much because it's like I've shown some of this on my TikTok, plus it's kind of weird. Obviously you want to do the trends to show, like, get more answers, but at the end of the day I completely understand that people just want you to go to the doctor and figure it out. But if it's anything like doctors saying how rare it is, but it makes me feel not so rare, then it's just like, again, the ping pong matches that you never get. So yes, as I conclude this week's podcast, you can see that. Finally, can we talk a little bit about the whole Wednesday ordeal? Because again, I'm still like obsessed with Wednesday Addams show, all that stuff. And Jenna Ortega's phenomenal and the whole cast phenomenal acting. But again, can we just talk about all the stuff though that she endured and how much she didn't need to do that? And she's been talking about how she's glad that method acting doesn't really need to be expected yet. The worst part was her whole thing with the COVID and that iconic dance scene. We get it. But just the fact that also, the whole Netflix situation with her. And again, she took as good a care of herself as she should, but people are saying like she was 19. But all of those character cast members are under 30. Keep that in mind. Yes, I understand that two of them are like 27 and 28, but like let's circle back, like that was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when still kind of teenagers, most of them, and then still young, mid early 20s. So again, and I know people have their own criticisms about the show, and the show is nowhere near like a CW. This one is an actual masterpiece, like I mentioned multiple times, but this is not like your typical whatever. But people can say what they want to say, but it's just one of those types of things where her whole COVID situation, her whole she decided to become back a pescatarian because she was vegan before because she wasn't getting enough nutrients, which again, love that she's very on it. And like the fact of the matter is though, her mom's a nurse, so of course she's gonna be a little more like, you need to take care of yourself, all those kind of things. But again, it's just so fascinating. You should also check out the TikTok therapist because Courtney, she does these reactions to the Wednesday series, what's going on and what she can pick up on, etc. And she loves the show, and it's just been really cool to watch those vlogs. And I just wanted to quickly touch on that piece because as again more information comes out and potentially a season 2, it's that everything can be a little better. And I know nobody's perfect, all those kind of things, but you really need to give crew, writers, all this stuff like a little bit more love. And I'm not saying just that, and I'm not just dissing on actors, I'm just talking like everyone needs a little more. And it seems like there might be a potential writer's strike coming up, like which happened in 2007, 2008. And I only have been searching for this more recently and looking at it more recently because I've joked too much about this, but I live in the tundra. There is not a lot of stuff for me to do to run outside. It is cold. It's not the best. And even if it's sunny out, it's not like you can do a lot besides sledding, and even then it's kind of like meh. And by the way, I also want to say, anytime that I see one of my friends, she actually from high school lives in Norway now, whenever she posts like pictures from like Scandinavia, all that stuff. Here's the funny part. Yes, I would rather go there probably in the winter because it's just so beautiful to look at. Even though I get it, it's not that much different to the Midwest. That's why so many of our ancestors moved over. But it's like very interesting. And, watching like people are so into Frozen again this in the more the holiday season, Olaf, all that stuff. And that's culture. And again, I'm only saying and touching on all this, but I've actually had interest to go there. And it's just that because I've talked about all my other travels here and there, but it's just very interesting. Even Iceland, like people want to go to Iceland, and I totally want to go there too. But it's like I feel like I just feel like a little bit like Norway is a little underrated. Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. I feel like the Scandinavia countries, because like Iceland is super far away from, but they have some of that same kind of. I know everyone's unique and different, but it just makes my brain kind of go when I see these pictures. I'm like, everyone's always talking about going to Iceland, or even though there's not much in Greenland either, but Iceland, Greenland. But it's like nobody really talks about Norway or Finland, even though Norway is based all around Frozen. So again, even Sweden, I don't know. I'm obviously overanalyzing all this stuff, but whenever I see pictures though online, I'm just like, this is gorgeous, and I'm just kind of like sitting here, and there just doesn't feel like that stillness that goes on. Now, granted, I know that everything is obviously under a different light, microscope, whatever you want to call it, and vacation is different than actually living reality there, but it was just a thought that crossed my mind. And of course, whenever I see reindeer or something like about Sven and the Olaf stuff, and yes, I know I'm over talking about this, but again, every time I see something that's inspired, I was like, I should go there someday. And now someday you sometimes want to go quicker than before. And I also am going to say that the whole thing about like I went and saw Wakanda Forever last week, and it was so beautiful, done well, and just very respectful of the indigenous cultures, etc. But it even makes me go, I would want to go to Wakanda at some point. But Wakanda is a fake place. Just the magic that lives on, and I wanted to say in the true beautiful storytelling that exists. And I get it. It's kind of like, what does she actually mean by all of this? Half the time, I don't even know. But I think just the takeaway from it is that, when you're building these dreams for the future of like plans, etc. And I could go anywhere pretty much. Well, not anywhere, but I'm very interested in a lot of places, and obviously you're not going to make it to every place in your lifetime, but I just feel like people don't talk enough about some of those Scandinavia, Central Europe places as much. So I just wanted to give them a little love, and especially because I know my own comments about some of that, because it seems like everybody is that Northern, Central, European, Western, where I'm from. But then you realize why all those people immigrated, why all our ancestors did. So, yeah. Should not have any say or comments over. But also, doctors need to stop like that carnivore man, Dr. MD, talking about all the hospital food stuff, and, doctors and registered dietitians calling him out. Again, this is the media that we're always constantly taking in. And, there's got to be a little more guidelines, and there's got to be child safety guidelines. Like the amount of things that, you get sucked into because you think it's in a virtual reality, which again, so many people buy those things. I have one of those things. I love it. But if VR had said, that's kind of what social media seems to be doing right now to all of our brains. So I just wanted to do a very quick or faster version of GenZ-Gab this week. But, with the big interview that I had last week that I know so many of you are still following along with, I wanted to give you that opportunity to catch up. As usual, hit like, subscribe, and we will see you the next week.